And again, I think the thing that I find distressing is that Tony Abbott came out with this comment, and recently, and so did Liz Truss in the United Kingdom, and they were saying that the elected government is temporary, because obviously it can change at the next elections. So the elected government is temporary. The permanent government, the bureaucrats, are always there. And I think it's the bureaucrats who are pulling the strings. And I'll give you a perfect example. I just saw on television just the other day, a Labor minister was being questioned about the rates of immigration in Australia. We are going to stop that. One Nation is going to put an absolute halt to immigration. I'll explain that in a moment. But he was asked about it, and he said, well, you know, we're trying to bring the numbers down. Now, as soon as he said we're trying, that to me was an admission of failure and an admission that he was not in control. What do you mean you're trying? I mean, you make a single phone call and say stop. You press a button, I don't know.
That's it, yeah.
You stop.
Literally.
But he's saying, oh, we're trying to bring it down. Like, who's actually...
Are you the man or you're not?
Who's doing this?
Yeah.
And obviously, the Labor government isn't, and the ministers are not. And so we are going to bring... Now, from 2009 to 2019, the average annual new arrivals in Australia was around 260,000. And then we had COVID, so no one came or went, except Matthias Cormann, who was flown around the world in an Australian government private jet so he could get his next gig, tax-free, working in Paris. And also Anastasia Palaszczuk, who had to go to the Olympics, but stayed in her hotel room and only watched it on the big wide screen. I mean, the hypocrisy and the entitlement was palpable.
Yes.
And so with...
Liz Truss and the bureaucracy you were talking about.
Yes, and sorry, this guy was saying he was in, you know, we're going to try to do it. Evidently, he wasn't in control. All he didn't tell us was who was. But One Nation is going to... and then bring... Now, as I said, 260,000 over a decade annually, average. Under Albanese, 500,000 plus have come in. We build 100,000... No, I heard a Senate candidate in a debate in South Australia say, when asked, is immigration having an effect on the housing crisis? And she's, no, nothing to do with it, nothing to do with it. Australia builds about 100,000 houses a year. And presumably some of those, most of those, all of those are being built for a buyer, somebody who says, I'm going to go and live in that house. 500,000 extra people come in, where are they going to live? The existing housing is full. The 100,000 being built is being built for somebody. And then we have 500,000 people on top come in, and people can say, oh, no, there's no push-pull factors with immigration. It's ludicrous. One Nation is going to cut... First, we're going to stop the mass migration, the mass immigration. We are going to stop it. Secondly, we'll have issue visas for up to 130,000. Now, we'll make sure that those visas are issued to people that Australia needs. So the tradesmen, the professionals that are required. Do you know of the people coming in at the moment, less than 1% are in the construction industry?
Oh, yeah, 0.6%.
0.6%. Who worked that out? I mean, who controlled that? And we're crying out for tradesmen to build housing.
Yeah.
So with 220-odd thousand leaving Australia annually, we're going to have net negative immigration of 90,000.
Yep.
So the population will be going down by 90,000. And like good conservatives, we're going to test it and see how it's working. Do we need more than 130? Do we need less? Rather than just open the floodgates because it seems like a good idea. And then we're going to deport there are 75,000 people here today who have overstayed their visas. They will be deported.
Yes.
And then we're going to take away, with the climate change disappearing, Climate Change Authority, we're going to take away the possibility for lawfare to be levelled against the Australian government, funded by taxpayers. So the EDO, the Environmental Defenders Office, first cab off the rank for elimination. We're going to come out of the United Nations, the WHO, the World Economic Forum, all of these supranational bodies who are infringing on our sovereignty, and who were starting to tell us what to do. The WHO wanted to have Australia sign up to an agreement that the next pandemic that would hit, it would control the Australian government's response.
Ridiculous.
Do we need a Prime Minister?
Ridiculous. Yeah, and what at a safest time for Peter Dutton to leave when you know we've got the new president of the free world, Donald Trump, saying we're leaving Paris. What does Dutton say? No, we're
staying in.
We're staying in. How
And
weak could you be?
Exactly. And then net zero, no, we'll keep going on that. And also 82% renewables, we'll keep going. Again, Rudd, in the dying days of his prime ministership, his last prime ministership, he signed against all advice an extension of the renewable energy target from 2020 out to 2030. That's $60 billion that's being hosed against the wall, that will be hosed against the wall. He didn't have to do it. Apparently even the environmental groups, Australian Conservation Foundation, was saying, don't do it. He did it.
Yes.
And then he jets off, millionaire, multimillionaire, tries to become UN Secretary General.
Yes.
So we're coming out of those groups. We're going to reduce foreign aid. We're going to save $1 billion by coming out of the UN, coming out of the United Nations Refugee Convention. That's being gamed against us.
Right.
Again, it was a...
So the way that works is they tell you how many people to take in, basically, and where to take them from.
Well, we're part of it, and then part of it is when they finally land on our shores and demand refugee status, we cannot evict them. Right. We cannot get rid of them. Right. Despite the fact that they've crossed borders, they're supposed to seek refuge in the nearest country. Now,
that travelled through 10.
Yeah, I can understand that a country like Jordan doesn't want to, because it isn't a wealthy country. Then that's where we should be putting our money to support them in dealing with those refugees and processing those refugees. We have new arrivals. We have new Australians. That's a term that's gone out of fashion, but I remember it as a young man. And they were proudly new Australians. And I have a wonderful Greek friend, Kerry Koliadis, who is an old Australian now. He's been here 50 years and a wonderful Greek, wonderful contributor. But with these new arrivals coming in, and the refugees, first of all, they cross borders, many borders. They get on a boat in Indonesia, they throw their passports overboard, and then demand refugee status. We will take Australia out of that UN Refugee Convention, which is past its use-by date and is being gamed against Australia by everybody, by the people claiming refugee status themselves, by the refugee organisations here in Australia, by the United Nations, and by everybody else. I mean, it's telling. Part of our immigration policy is that we will not accept immigrants or refugees from extremist nations. Our social cohesion has gone down the toilet over the last 15 months, 17 months, since October 7, 2023. Albanese has done nothing about it. The Greens have fomented, thrown petrol on the flames themselves. Penny Wong has disgraced herself in the United Nations. We had a bipartisan approach to what was happening in the Middle East until Albanese and Wong tore that up. And then we took in 3,000 Gazans when Egypt wouldn't accept Gazan refugees. Jordan wouldn't accept. No other Middle East country was going to accept refugees from Gaza. So extremist nations, Gaza, the West Bank, Afghanistan, Pakistan, I think you could put into there. When the Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1980, Pakistan was terrified that they would be next. And they had 900 madrasas, religious schools, at that time under Zia al-Haq. By the time he was assassinated, I think, in 1988, and the end of the Afghan, there were 9,000 madrasas. These are Islamist schools that don't teach tolerance, don't teach international relations. All they teach is their Islamic teachings. So these are extremist nations, and we will not accept refugees or immigrants from extremist nations. We want social cohesion. We want social cohesion, and our supposedly wonderful multicultural experiment has failed.
No, it has absolutely. I was going to say, there's so much there. I could chat to you forever about all of this war.